I'll never forget that night in Paris. The sky was black, churning with heavy storm clouds, and the rain lashed down in violent sheets, soaking the narrow streets and cloaking the city in an eerie hush. I had just wrapped up an exhausting shift and was making my way home, umbrella gripped tightly against the gusting wind. The flickering street lamps cast long, jittery shadows, and the few pedestrians had already vanished indoors. It was the kind of night that made you feel like you weren't alone even when you clearly were. At first, I chalked it up to nerves. The wind moaned through alleys and rattled drain pipes like distant whispers. But then I heard it, a low, gurgling growl behind me, deep, guttural, and too unnatural to be a dog. I froze and spun around. Nothing. I tried to laugh it off, but something felt off. The kind of wrong that coils in your gut and doesn't let go. I walked faster. That sound came again. Louder, closer. Then I saw them, two glowing, amber eyes locked on me from the shadows, unblinking, inhuman. I ran. I didn't look back. My shoes splashed through puddles, my lungs burned, and the growls chased me down every turn. Just when I thought I couldn't go any farther, I saw its cafe, lights still on, a beacon in the downpour. I stumbled inside and slammed the door behind me. The warmth of the place did little to ease my nerves. It was empty. Silent. Only the sound of rain tapping the windows kept me company. I called out. No answer. Something wasn't right. The silence felt heavy, like the building was holding its breath. I turned to leave, but a voice stopped me. Don't go out there. It was soft, coming from somewhere in the back. My skin prickled. The growling outside grew louder. Closer. I couldn't stay. I had to know who was back there. I pushed open the back door. And what I saw, God help me, there she stood. A woman, sort of, but not. Her body was draped in matted fur. Her fingers ended in jagged claws, and her eyes, those hellish, glowing eyes, locked on me. What are you? I stammered. A curse, she replied. A monster. And you're next. She lunged. I tried to run, but she was on me in a flash. Her claws tore through my side, and I hit the ground, screaming. Blood and rain blurred my vision. I thought it was over until she pulled back. Run, she hissed. Run, before it takes hold. I didn't hesitate. I bolted through the front, back into the storm. My side throbbed with every step, but I didn't stop until I slammed the door of my apartment behind me and collapsed, trembling. But safety was a lie. Later that night, I heard it again. A low growl just outside my door. I froze. Then came scratching. Claws, dragging slowly down the wood. I backed away. The door groaned under pressure, and I could see the outline of something massive pushing from the other side. It burst through, muscles rippling beneath thick fur. Its jaw opened in a snarl of hunger and fury. Its eyes locked on me, and before I could even scream, it pounced. Claws sank into my flesh. Pain exploded through me, and then darkness. I woke up on the floor, bleeding, alive. Barely. My shirt was ripped and my skin torn, but the wounds, they were already closing. I stumbled to the bathroom, stared into the mirror. I was healing too fast. And that's when the truth hit me. That thing hadn't killed me. It has changed me. The next night I went back to the cafe. I had to know more. This time, I carried a silver blade in my pocket. The door creaked open, and I stepped into the gloom. No lights, no sound, but she was there. I could feel it. You shouldn't have come, she said from the shadows. I need answers. She stepped forward. Her monstrous form is partially hidden in the darkness. You're turning, she said flatly. It's already begun. What can I do? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. There's no cure, she said. You're one of us now. It doesn't stop. Then she vanished, swallowed by the shadows. I stood alone in the silence, the rain roaring outside, my thoughts spinning. I wasn't human anymore, and I'd never be safe again. That night, I walked home under the storm without flinching. The rain no longer chilled me, but as I reached my building, I heard it again, that low, menacing growl. I wasn't alone. I never would be again. So if you ever find yourself in Paris, caught in a sudden downpour, and feel like something's watching you from the alley, don't ignore it. Don't run. Because sometimes it's not the storm you should fear. It's what's waiting in it. There's something about the streets of Paris at night, how empty they get, how the silence weighs on your chest. I remember walking home after a brutal shift, the kind that leaves you more hollow than tired. The city, usually alive even after midnight, had gone still. Too still. The air was cold, but it wasn't just the weather, it was the kind of chill that seeps into your spine. I wasn't alone. That feeling started as a whisper in my brain, then a pressure on the back of my neck, like someone's eyes were glued to me from the dark. Every few steps, I swore I heard another pair of footsteps echoing mine, but each time I turned around, nothing. Just slick cobblestones and the murmur of wind through the narrow alleys. I told myself it was my mind playing tricks, until I saw him. Just a flicker of movement behind a twisted tree. A silhouette, tall, thin, unmoving, his face hidden, but his stare was unmistakable. I blinked and he was gone. That was all I needed. I took off, the rhythm of my footfalls echoing like gunshots in the silence. Turn after turn, I tried to lose him, but no matter where I ran, he was always just behind me, always close. Too close. Then the growl came. It wasn't human. It rumbled behind me, deep and raw, like a caged animal that had just broken free. I turned to him. A man, if you could call him that, his chest heaving, mouth twisted in a snarl. His presence was overwhelming and I couldn't move. His hands lunged for me, and then I woke up, soaked in sweat, alone, in my bed. But the dread didn't fade with the dream. It clung to me like damp clothes. The next night, I tried to stay awake. I fought it, but sleep eventually won and the nightmare came back. Same streets, same chase, same breath on my neck. Only this time, he caught me. His hand gripped my shoulder and pulled me back into the void. I sat up screaming, heart slamming against my ribs. Still in bed, still alone. But the fear? That was real. So was the certainty that I was being watched. Days went by. Sleep became torture. Every time I closed my eyes, I returned to those streets, back to that shadowed man and his relentless pursuit. His face haunted me, his voice whispered through the cracks in my waking mind. I couldn't take it anymore. I went back. Same streets, same hour, looking for him. And I found him. He stood beneath a dim lamp, leaning against a tree like he'd been waiting for me. My feet moved on their own. As I approached, his eyes locked with mine, not crazed, but broken, tormented. "You see me," he whispered. I jolted awake, back in my room, alone, or so I thought, because now I saw him everywhere. At first it was flashes in windows, in mirrors, behind crowds. Then it got worse. He stood right in front of me, silent, watching. No one else could see him, but I could feel him. He followed me room to room, day and night. His presence was like a weight on my chest, like breathing through wet cloth. I stopped leaving the house, stopped answering calls. My world shrank down to the walls of my apartment and him. The wild-eyed man. One night, I decided I couldn't live like that anymore. I needed to know why he was haunting me. So I went back to where it all started. There he was, as if he'd never left, waiting. I walked up to him, heart thundering in my chest. His voice is barely more than a breath. "You're stuck just like me." And then he vanished. For a while things got better. No more sightings. No more sleepless nights. But peace doesn't last in stories like this. The nightmares came back. More vivid, more violent. I'd wake up screaming, convinced he was there. Until one night he was standing at the foot of my bed. He didn't speak. He just smiled, a crooked, knowing grin. My body refused to move. He reached out and brushed his hand against my face, and then I fell into nothingness. I thought I woke up, but I didn't. He was still there. He wasn't part of my dreams anymore. He was real, breathing, smirking, watching me with those haunted, hungry eyes. And I knew I wasn't just caught in a cycle of nightmares. I was stuck in something worse, a loop of madness and reality blurred together. And he wasn't going anywhere. They say Paris is where beauty breathes, from the brushstrokes of painters to the whispers of dreamers wandering its ancient alleys. I came here chasing that same dream, hoping to carve my name into the city's creative legacy. My name is Damien, and I was once a painter full of fire. I had found a cramped little studio tucked deep into the Montmartre district. It was cheap, poorly lit, and smelled of mildew, but it had history. You could feel the echoes of long-gone geniuses in the cracked walls. I believed naively that their spirits might guide my hand. And for a while it worked. I painted every day, hunting for that one canvas that would finally define me. But it wasn't until I read a strange article in the local paper that everything changed. It mentioned a string of brutal deaths in an old building just blocks from where I stayed. All the victims were artists, all found alone in their apartments, mutilated in ways that made no sense. Police wrote it off as coincidence, accidents, but something about it didn't sit right. I couldn't look away. The story wormed its way into my thoughts. I started digging. That building they said used to be a grand hotel, popular among artists like Toulouse-Lautrec, Modigliani, others long since gone. But rumors told of a curse, a spirit, furious and jealous, that would destroy the souls who dared to create within its walls. Of course, everyone laughed it off, but I didn't. And that was my first mistake. I became obsessed with it. The history, the curse, the idea that perhaps true genius wasn't born but bargained for. What if that darkness could be channeled? What if it could elevate my work to something eternal? That obsession bled into my art. My once vibrant canvases turned cold, haunting. Faces twisted in agony, shadows swallowing light. My friends noticed. They whispered. Some stopped speaking to me altogether. But I didn't care. I thought I was getting closer to something no one else had the courage to touch. One night, thunder rolled across the Parisian rooftops. Rain lashed against the windows like claws. I grabbed my supplies and walked to that cursed building. I don't know what I expected, but the moment I stepped inside, it felt like I was being swallowed whole. I climbed to the top floor, the site of the most recent death. The door was cracked open. Cold air poured from the room like breath from a crypt. Inside, I found walls lined with grotesque paintings. Horrific. Violent. At the center of it all sat a single, untouched canvas blank, as if waiting for me. And I couldn't resist. I unpacked my brushes and began to paint. At first, I thought it was my ideas, my hand, but soon I realized something else was guiding it. The brush moved too quickly. The images forming on the canvas were darker than anything I'd imagined. I wasn't creating anymore. I was channeling. Hours passed. The storm outside grew louder, but inside it was quiet. Unnaturally quiet. The air thickened, the walls seemed to pulse, and the canvas it moved. The figures twisted as I painted. Their eyes followed me. Their mouths contorted as if screaming, but no sound came. It was as though the curse itself had taken shape in my work, feeding off my fear. I should have stopped. But I didn't. With one final stroke, I completed the piece, and I felt it. Something shifted. The room dropped in temperature. The walls whispered. The painting hummed. Alive. But so was something else. Something is wrong. I tried to destroy the canvas, to tear it, burn it, anything. But nothing worked. In a panic, I ran to the Seine and hurled it into the river, watching as the water swallowed it whole. I thought I was free. But that night, the nightmares began. They haven't stopped. I see the faces from the canvas every time I close my eyes. Sometimes even when they're open. The spirit didn't leave when I threw the painting away. It followed me. Now, when I walk Montmartre's narrow streets, I catch glimpses of someone in the reflections. Watching. Always watching. And in the silence of my studio, I feel it breathing just behind me. Some say I've disappeared, but I'm still here. Just not all of me. Years have passed, and Damien's name has become legend among the Parisian art crowd. They whisper about the cursed building, the artist who vanished, and the painting that was never found. Some say his spirit still roams the streets, searching for the canvas that nearly took his soul. One ambitious painter named Elise Young, proud and fearless, brushed off the legend and moved into that very same building. She thought Damien's story was nothing but an exaggerated fable, until her work changed, until the shadows whispered, until she, too, vanished.